this is an opportunity from wherever you live and from whatever community you come from to be a part of it, and that's why we went to Singapore.
Today's all about a very clear start to training for all of these people here today, and they'll be here this afternoon and tomorrow as well. It's worth just contrasting for a second, Seb, that this training is getting into pace now. There's been a lot of training for the athletes that's been going on for, well, years. And that's a very good
and actually, it's worth remembering, if I think back to my own career as an athlete, sitting in February, beginning of February, for sake of argument, you've got about 5.5, 6 months to go. I still had, at this point, probably about 350 training sessions ahead of me before I stepped out onto the track. Our organising committee are in exactly the same mindset. We know that we're in great shape and we're moving inexorably in the right direction, but we still have a mountain of work to do. And all these wonderful people that are here giving up their time to help us make the difference between a good and a great games also are a part of that training program, and I'm really blown away to see you all here today. It's everything I wanted to see when we went to Singapore.
We'll come on in a second to what your expectations are, because I want you to give your message to everyone here today, what you'd like them to be thinking of. Before we do that, I think it's worth again just underlining so that everyone is aware of the way that the games were won, why they were won, what the goals were, what was it about that London bid which convinced them in a very competitive field that this was the project they wanted to go with.
I think we won because we dared to be different. We set out a vision that, the film showed it. It was a vision about transforming lives, transforming a landscape. It was about creating opportunities for young people to do things that they may never have even thought about. I'm sitting here because of something I watched, albeit on a television set in 1968. It defined everything I went on to do. So for me, this is about allowing young people to, in a way, figure out how they want to navigate that landscape, that they can do things that they may never have thought that were possible. And sport is the common language. When you go to any sports club, you know that the coaches that are there working, hundreds of hours every year, again, giving up often time, freely given, to create not just young people that are good in sport, but actually young people that are good in so many different ways.
I mentioned pride earlier, and I single out pride, and maybe, I don't know, you may feel that it's something different, that the primary emotion should be a different one, whether it's hard work or whether it's being helpful or whatever it is. What is your direct message to everyone here today, thousands of people here today, and to say to them, this is what I want you to think about when you are delivering your services in all of these different areas, because they're very varied jobs. What is the thing you want people thinking about in terms of their attitude and their planning for the game?
The first message is very, very simple. It's thank you. Because there is nothing that we could do in the next 6 months. There is nothing that we could do games time. We wouldn't have even set out to deliver a games. We wouldn't even set out to bid for a games if I for one moment thought we wouldn't get the kind of response from the volunteers, from the games makers that we had this morning. It's really simple. We could not put this on without you. We wouldn't have even set out on this journey. So the fact that you've understood what this journey is about is really the most important thing. So the first message is thank you. I will always look at this project, inevitably, through the eyes of a competitor. I was very privileged. I competed twice at an Olympic Games, like Jonathan. And I know that the difference between what I did and what might not have happened was the difference between having great, great volunteers. And I suppose it's a really simple formula for me. Every time, it doesn't really matter what job you're doing, what you've applied for, whether it's a specialist, whether it's a generalist, whether you're standing there in a warm-up area holding somebody's kit, or you're out on a marathon course handing out water, or you're in one of the medical control centres, or you're welcoming people into the park, or welcoming the athletes. You must remember that every one of those competitors that you come across has probably given up, devoted over half their young lives to be there. And you are the difference, often, between them going back with their ambitions fulfilled and not. So every time you see them, you've got to figure out, what is it that I can do to make that difference? And bearing in mind, races, you know, whether it's rowing, whether it's cycling, whether it's track and field, whether it's, you know, any number of sports, the margin between winning and losing, or in fact going out in the first round and progressing to the second round, is tiny. And you can make that difference. So every time you see a competitor, remember, they've given up half their lives to be there, and you are the invisible support team. You are as important to them as their coach, their physiologist, their nutritionist, you know, even in some cases their agents. So you've got to realise that you are a part of that team. You are as important to them, even if they don't realise it.